Mm.
Oh, oh, can someone hear me? Hello? Okay. Let me go and bring my headphones down. Sure. All right, I'm here. If you can hear me. All right, so let's start. Sorry about that. I left my headphones on. So. Is there anything you need us to quickly revise before we do something new today? The person who was looking for how to download Linux, this is a link here. Good source of Linux operating system. ISO. That is it. And then when you get there, you click this one. Okay, so we've basically gone through these commands. And then the exercise that I put there, courtesy of Justin. So your understanding of these commands would help you complete those exercises. All right. All this make directory, change directory, remove directory, piping. All right. And then, of course, the new command that we are learning. They all work together to help you. I think there's a question like this. They're unique, about something unique. All right. All of them. They work together. And then if you feel that you are not getting what you are looking for here, then just Google and go look for additional resources. For most of them, about 90-95% of those questions are already treated by what we have already done, plus what we are still covering, what we'll cover today. All right, so networking. Okay, yeah, we did all of this yesterday, and then we stopped somewhere here. All right. Anything you need us to revise? Anything at all you need us to revise? I hope you can hear me. I'm muted, am I? Somebody just confirm you can hear me, please. Hello, can you hear me? Can anyone hear me? All right, so then why is no one talking then, Julius, if you can hear me? All right, so any questions? Anything you need us to revise? Anything that's not clear? Okay, so Yomi, what have you learned so far? What one thing can you do with me? Just one thing. Of all the many things you can possibly do, which of them is wow for you?
I mean, I can connect two servers together, ping them, maybe to create users, delete users, or maybe to SSH.
All right, that's beautiful.
So, yeah.
All right, so that's fine. So I assume that is true for everyone. So let's go on there. So what do we want to do now? We want to add an existing user to multiple groups. All right, so the command is there. The command to add existing user to multiple groups is user. This is the command to add user to group. So this is the name of the group. All right, but no, to add existing user to multiple groups, yes, would be you just list the multiple groups. Okay, let's quickly create groups so that we know what we're talking about. Let's quickly create group. To create a group, we say group group add, yeah. Group add, then new group. Okay, when you say hello, no one seems to hear. But I guess you are hearing me. I hope you are hearing me. We are not hearing.
Yes, I will hear you. Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, because somebody I just saw a message. Okay, so create a group. Let's do history. So what are we? This ARK logged into American server, operating from his home directory. Okay, so what groups do I belong to? I'm a member of one, so I can use sudo to perform. All right, so to create group, the command is group add. All right, so to create group, the command is sudo group add. Remember that in place of user, you just say group. That's all. User add, group add. Then what's the name of the group? Let's say trainees. All right, that's it. What am I to create group? All right, so that is created. You want to take a look to see if it's actually created? There's a file that's called group and it's in etc. So if I say cat this file in etc called group, I'll be able to see that trainees is a group just been created. Any group from 1,000 and above is a group that is created by user. Any group 900, 1,000 below 1,000 is a system group. So all of this were already created for us by the systems, and actually not for us, for the system itself, but for 1,000 above, created by us. All right, so now that we have created a group, what do we want to do with the group? We want to add user to the group. So do we have a user here? Yeah, we have Abiola. To add Abiola to the group trainees that we just created, the command would be sudo user modify, just like we did for will, minus ag. But this time, instead of will, it would be let me minimize this. Somebody's on video, you don't mind? So where am I now? Okay, so ag, then user mod minus ag. What's the name of the group? In this case, the name of the group is trainees. And who do we want to add to the group? Abiola. So this is how to add user to group. All right. So if we now check ID Abiola, we'll see that Abiola is now part of the group. It's hiding. Let me check it. Part of the group trainees. All right. Another way to find out is to say groups Abiola. And then we'll see that Abiola is part of Abiola group, number one, always number one, then part of will, and then part of training. And the other command was saying, if we had like two groups, let's create another group, maybe students. What's the command? Sudo create group, group add, and then what do we call it? Students. All right. So if we wanted to make Abiola a member of trainees and students at the same time, that's what that command is showing us. We can simply do it instead of doing it one by one. We can run both commands together like this. Sudo group add, then what? Sudo group add minus a, that is, they should retain their original membership of the primary group. But add this group. And what is the group? And do trainee, then comma students. All right? No space. For whom? For Abiola. Abiola is already a member of trainees, so let's see what complaint will give them. All right, anytime it does not do what you want and it gives you a piece of info or something to read, it means that command is not good. I will know the reason because it's already a member of trainees. All right, but you know what I wanted to show you. In this case, we want to make Abiola a member of students since it's already training students. Then the command will be that. Sudo group add minus AG students Abiola. Yeah, that should go through. Group add. So what's the spelling of my student? I'm not sure. Let me quickly check. So cat etc groups. Cat etc. Why is everything? Oh, group, not group. All right, so the spelling is students. Yeah. So why did that command not go? Sudo group add minus AG. Is it already added? Okay, maybe it's already added by that first command. So let's check. ID for Abiola. Abiola is a member of Abiola will trainees. It's not a member of students. Okay, let's see the other method, groups. Abiola. It's a member of trainees, not, so why are you not joining students? Sudo group add minus AG, and the name of the group is students, and then Abiola is the person I want to. Minus AG, what's the problem? Invalid option A. Invalid option A, false. How would they? Let's try for another command. I don't have any explanation. I don't know why that. Let's quickly create a user and then use that's the same command will be used. -a. What am I doing? Okay. So let's create another user to do something else. Let's just start that and come back to it. So we can add a user to existing to multiple groups at the same time using that. And then what's the next thing? To change users' primary group. Yeah, this is one of the questions in those exercises that we shared. To change users' primary group, all this while we have retained the primary group to be by -a. But to change the primary group, the command is user mod. This time -g. Then the group name that you want to change it to, and then username. Okay, let's quickly create a user so that we can change this primary group. Let's change the user. Let's create a user and call him sudo user more user. Oh, I know the problem now. So sudo to create a user first of all is user add, and then what? Name of the user, simple name like Ayo. All right. That is done. Then assign password to Ayo. Sudo password Ayo. And then let me provide the password, daily 2020 hash. Daily 2020. All right, so that is done. May I allow somebody. All right. So we now have a user called Ayo. All right. Do you want to confirm? Okay, just to get used to the command. To confirm will be cat etc and then password. And then we see that Ayo is right there at the bottom. The other one's there. Okay, so now that Ayo is there, what do we want to do with Ayo? The command we wanted to practice. Okay, so what is the ID of Ayo? ID is the command, then Ayo. So right now, the primary ID of Ayo is Ayo. The primary ID of Ayo is Ayo. So let us change. The primary group of Ayo is Ayo. Let's change the primary group now. What other group do we have? First of all, let us join Ayo to another group, maybe students. All right, so we say to join to the group student is sudo user mod. It's user mod. I was using the wrong command. User mod, sudo user modify -ag. Then what? What group? Oh yeah, we already have students. And then who are we adding to the group students? Ayo. All right. So now if we do Ayo ID, ID Ayo, we see that Ayo is now a member of students. All right. To change the primary group or the primary group, the secondary group, to change the primary group of Ayo from Ayo to student, the command is just like you see up there, sudo user mod, this time -g, not -a anymore. Then group name, students. And then who are we changing the primary group for? Ayo. All right, so if we now do ID Ayo, we see that here, the primary group of Ayo after the user ID, Ayo, the next one is the primary. here the primary ID of Ayo was Ayo. But now, after the user ID Ayo, the next one being the primary is students. So that's how to change the primary group of the user. Yes, occasions will arise where you need to do all of this, but we're just learning the tools right now. Where when you do need to change primary group, remember how to do it. All right, so another command is to change the group of the file daily. Yeah, we're going to use that. First of all, to delete a group, use the command to delete a group. Is simple. I think somebody was asking this yesterday. Sudo, then to delete a group is group delete. Okay? And then to delete user, we did that yesterday. User delete, user there, then group there. All right. Now, this is important. That's why I printed it here. To change the group of the file daily.txt, for example, to group.1, the command is change group. Change group, group to group 1 for the file daily.txt. Let's look at it, for example. Do we have any file here? ls-l. Yes, we have a file. We have a file. So this file belongs to the user, Akin, and belongs to the group, Akin. If I want to share this file with, actually, the reason I created the group students and added my students to that group is so that I can share resources with them in a factorized manner. So now if I want to share this file belonging to only me and my group with my students, this is the way to do it. So the way to do it is to change this group, or one of the ways to do it is to change the group name from Akin to students. That way, everyone who is a member or student will now have access to the file as group. So first of all, Akin, I am the owner, and then the group owner, and therefore have access to the file as well, would be students. To do that, the command is change ch group. You have to be sudo first. So change group to students. For which file? For this file, my config file. So I do for my config file. All right? So that's the command. So if I press enter, students. If I press enter, it is done. So if I look at that file again by doing ls-l, we are now seeing that instead of Akin being the group owner is now students. So what is the implication of this? That everyone who is a member or student can now access this file. Isn't that an awesome way of sharing file with thousands of people just from the DOS, from the command line interface, instead of going through, well, in contrast to what you did in domain by using graphics environment to drag, drop, and go to your Active Directory. So that is how to change it. All right? Of course, there are other commands. Sudo group add new group. We've done that before. And then you can use ID to find out the ID of Akin and what, and then you can use groups as well, right? Groups Akin. And then there's another one called, it's not commonly used. I mean, I don't use it commonly because by the time I use one or two of these commands, I'll get the same result. But there's one called get end group. Get end group. So for Akin, if I say get end enterprise group, what does it do? It will give me, it will list all groups. It will list all groups, all the groups. So This would be a faster way, if you remember the command, of seeing all the groups available on the system. You know, you are systems administrator. When I say system, I mean that system that you administer, not just your computer. All right, instead of going the generally known way of cutting the etc group form. All right, so these are the basic commands that you will need regularly. All right, as you perform tiny projects here and there, there are the commands that you need to perform your task. All right, if there are questions, I will take a break and take them. If there are no questions, we'll carry on. All right, so to find out members of a group, that's the command. Just say sudo get end. Or add multiple members to group. Yeah, sometimes you have to do this, and instead of doing 5, entering 5 different commands to achieve it, you want to achieve it in a single command. All right, so you want to say sudo g password, add multiple users to a group in one line. Add multiple users to a group in one line. All right, so g password multiple, capital N minus N. Then user 1, user 2, user 3, user 4. To what group? So I want to add 3 users to the group students. So like this sudo group password minus N. And then I list the users, comma without space. Then I add them to the group student. This group student will be the last one there. All right. Yeah, all of these are simple enough, I guess. We can just run through them so that we can go to something more challenging. Add user to multiple groups in one command. Remove a user from a group. Yeah, I think that was what somebody asked yesterday. Right. So to remove a user from a group, you say sudo g password, group password minus D, delete the user. Right. So on and so forth. And then create this other command. This is a real command that's not in the book, but this other command just came up because people were asking questions about, okay, how do you do this? How do you do this? So I had to do extra research to just share this command with you. Right? But the one in yellow is the main one that you want to remember to use. All right. So create and add user to multiple groups in one line. So one will add multiple users to a single group. This other will create and add user to multiple groups. They're 2 different. Right? And this is what we tried to do earlier on. But we're saying, why did that not work? Let's try this again. Let's try this. So want to create a user, Eric, and add Eric to the 3 groups that we have now. So the command will be sudo user add -g Eric. That's Eric. Then -g okay. So here we're not using the -a. That's the key difference. That's the key difference. So -g, then what? Add to all the -g. So which groups? To students. Okay, comma without space. To what? To trainees. Comma without space, and then to will. Let's extend that. Okay. To will, and then that's all. So no more command because we are done with the groups. And who are we adding to all of this? Eric. We are saying create the user Eric as a part of that small group, and then add into this big group. Students, trainees. Well, all right. So that's good. All right. Group Eric does not exist. Okay. Password for user group Eric does not exist. Or you're meant to create it. That's one error too many. Let's find out what let's correct this command if it's not. So sudo add Nathan to the group Eric. So Nathan. I don't want to create Eric first. If I create Eric, then what's the use passing this to this method? I don't want to break it. Let's try. Let's extend this. Sudo user add Eric. Okay. What's your complaint this time? Students. Students. Let me show this point. Let me try this on the other system. There are many errors now. No problem. Let's try here. So so system to terminal. All right. So print working directory ARQ. Who am I? Who am I? I'm ARQ, okay. Clear screen. So create a user. Create a user. Create and add user to multiple groups in one line. All right. So command should be sudo user add -g. Then the name of the user, like we said, is Eric. And then -G, add to these groups called wheel, students, trainees, and we're adding Eric. And password is Eric does not exist, same thing. All right, so if you try that, user group does not exist. Oh, we didn't create groups here. We didn't create the groups here. All right, so what I'll do now to solve this problem is, even though I don't like that method, is to first of all create the primary group. So in this case, it will be two commands. First, create the primary group, which is user. To create the primary group will be what? group, no capitality, group add. And what's the group you want to add? Right? So that way will not tell you user does not exist. Okay. I mean, will not tell you group does not exist. Okay, so let's quickly come back here. Where's the other system? Okay, here. All right, so how do you create group? Add. All right, so now that we have created the group, what's the original command? All right, so sudo user add to small group, which now exists. Then, in addition to that, add to these groups, students, trainees, will. All right, so that is done. All right. I'm sure if we look for the switches, if we look at the switches carefully, we might find a switch that would combine those two commands into one. When I say switch, I mean options. All right. So what else do we have to learn? Now, the most important part of all of this part is the real thing you need as a network person, as a network administrator. Now, look at this file, ls-l. Let's create more files. Let's create file touch, file 1, file 2, file 3, file 4, right? ls-l. So we have all of these files belonging to AAKI and the group AAKI, all right? So if I want to give this file to somebody else, maybe I created it for the MD. Now I am done creating the file. I want to hand it over to the owner, the person for whom I created the file. So who do we have here, by the way? Do we have, let's quickly look at what's the command to quickly check the list of users. Well, for me, instead of going that long route, we can just do how many directories do we have in the home directory. All right, so we can do ls-l, but where are we? Yeah, we're in the, can do cd ls-l. All right, so we have Akin, Abiola, Ayo, Eric, Joy. All right, so we have 4 other users. Okay, I'll remember some of this. So what I want to do now is change ownership of the file 4 to Abiola. Okay, Abiola has that many files. Okay. Yeah, let's change that. So we want to give the ownership of this file. The new owner of this file will become Abiola. So to do that, the command is change owner. Or to use any of these commands, I'll have to be sudo. It will be sudo chon to what? To Abiola space Abiola. For which file? For the file 4. All right, sudo chon Abiola file 4. File 4. Oh, I'm in the wrong directory. I'm in home. I shouldn't be in home. I should be in Akin's directory. So how do I get to Akin's home directory? CD will take me to Atkinson directory. So this is where I don't want to clear this print so that I can still see what's on top. So this is where the file is. So now that I'm here, I'll do sudo churn Abiola file 4. All right. So if I now do ls -l, I see that file 4 now belongs to Abiola. It no longer belongs to Ayaki. So I've given ownership of this file to Abiola. So Abiola is now the owner of this file. And of course, if I wanted to change the ownership of the group, like we did earlier, I can now say, okay, this file is owned by Abiola, but it's available to everyone who is a member of the group students. All right, how do I do that? So I'll say change group like we did earlier on. So I'll say change group. This is the command. So let's do it one more time. Change group, no sudo always. Sudo change group. All right. To students. Change group to students. For which file? For the file 4. All right. If I now do ls -l, I'm going to see that for file 4, Abiola is the new owner, and everyone in students can access that file. What kind of access? This is the real thing now. What kind of access does everyone in students have to the file 4? First of all, this entry is a file because that is not D. If it's not D, which means directory, then the only other thing it can be is a file. These 3 digits, this read, write, and then the other space should have been execute. It means execute. Read, write, execute. They belong to the owner. So the user owner of this file, Abiola, has read, write permission over the file. He does not have execute permission. He cannot execute. And then the group, everyone who is a member of students would have read, write, but no execute permission. And then this third group of 1, 2, 3, it means everyone else, every other person, everyone else. The world, universally. So it means that everyone else outside Abiola, who is the owner, and outside everyone who is a member of the group, has only read permission to this file. Very, very important, very useful, right? So this is how to set permission level, how to assign different levels of permission to a file. Some people would be able to only read that file. When they attempt to write to it, to edit it, they are not able to do so. Others are now able to read and write to it, whereas others are not even able to execute. Execute means if it was an executable file, it can run. In Windows, you will normally double click, but here you run it as an executable file. You get to that later. All right, but there is nothing executable in all of this. Okay, let's take an example now. So let me look for an example. Practical example. Now, what I want to do now is I want Abiola to be able to only read this file, and no one else, not the group or anyone else, should be able to access this file in any way. All right. Now, to do that, let me explain. There are 2, 3 ways to do it, but the most universal way, the way that you will speak and everybody will understand you and So universal, you don't have to explain, is this. So you come here, let me share. So those three, read those three spaces. 1, 2, 3. So 3 sets of 3 digits. The first one represents read. The second one represents write. The third one represents execute. All right. Again, the first one will be read. The second one will be write. The third one will be execute. And then it will be read, write, execute. This read, write, execute, the first one, relates to the owner, Abiola. This other read, write, execute, the middle one, relates to the group, members of the group. And this other one relates to universal, everyone else, everyone. All right. So if I have a file, this read, write, execute, let me extract that read, write, execute. I say read, write, execute. So I'll raise this, I'll put 2 here, 2 here, 2 here, 2 here. All right. So these 2, I will raise it to power 0. Let me use the so 0, 1, 2. So what is 2 raised to power 0? Anything raised to power 0 is 1. What is 2 raised to power 1? 2 times 2 in one place is 2. What is 2 raised to power 2? 2 times 2, 4. So this means that anytime I give a permission of 4, I am saying that that group, that whatever that, whichever of these 3 groups I'm referring to has, if I say this guy has a permission of 4, it means that the owner, this is the user owner, this is the group, this is everyone else, universal or global. Let me just say everyone. So if I say assign a permission of 4, what I'm saying is to the owner, it means that I'm saying allow the owner to be able to only read. But if you assign the owner permission of 5, it means that the owner is able to do 4 and 1, because 4 and 1 equals 5. What does 4 and 1 mean? The owner can read and execute. If I say assign a permission of 6 to the owner, it means you are assigning 4 plus 2, that is 6. And what does that mean? That the owner is able to do 4, which is read, and then do 2, which is write. The owner can read and write to that file. If I say assign a permission of 7 to the owner, it means the owner is able to do 4 plus 2 plus 1, that is 7. So 7 means the person that has 7 permission is able to read, write, execute. So if you now assign a file permission 7 for the owner, 7 for the group, and 7 to everyone else. In other words, you assign permission 7, 7, 7. This is the poorest level of security. In fact, it means that the file is not secure. It's available to the whole world. So you want to make a file available to the whole world, send it naked to the world, everybody sees what is there, everybody is able to read to it, write to it. Then you give that file permission 777. But if you want the owner to be able to read and write, but you want the members of the group to only be able to read, then it will be read and write, which is 4 plus 2 will be 6, And then you want the group members to be able to only read, that will be 4. And then for everyone else, they have no business with your file, because they have business. You don't want them to be able to do anything, that will be 0. If you give a file permission 640, that is what it is. So if you give a file permission 000, it means that the file is just there, almost completely useless, because nobody is doing anything with it. The owner is not able to do anything. It's not able to read, write, execute. The group members are not able to read, write, execute. The whole world is not able to read, write, execute. So you use these ones, this numbering system, to assign again, not just, this is the most universal way to assign different levels of permission to files. And just doing it here once, you have done it universally, whether it is within your local system or on the internet. And this is very common on the internet. And these are the numbers that I use. All right, so because this is so important, let's do a bit of exercise here. So I have a file. And we're going to implement it now once we get this on. The name of the file is file1.txt. This file, I want the owner, maybe I created it, and by churn, change ownership. By that command churn, I have assigned the ownership to my database administrator. And I want only the database administrator to be able to read and write to that file. No one else should see or even know that that file exists. So what kind of permission should I give to that file to make that possible? So the database administrator, by name Abiola, whom I have made the owner. Well, Abiola is just a name. It could have been manager, it could have been supervisor 2, it could have been any other name, but I'm just using Abiola. So if I wanted to make Abiola able to read and write, and that's all I need to assign to the file, what number will I assign to the file? Anybody, please? Just to show me you're following.
4.
4 is not it, because I need him to be able to read and write. So read and write is 4 plus 2. So that will be 6 to the owner. So what about for the group? Because there's always a group. I want the group not to even know that the file exists. They don't have any business with the file. I mean, his team members, as the head of the administrator, I don't want his team members to be able to do anything with that file. What number should I assign? 0. And I don't want the world to see the file, 0. So how do I now assign this 600 to the file? This is how to do it. So I go to share, I come here. To assign that security code to, okay, to assign the security number to, where's that file? Let's use this same file since the other file belongs to Archaea. So this is a typical example, because for this file, we have changed both the user to the database administrator, and all his team members are members of the group. All right, but right now, Abiola can read and write, but the team members can also read and write. So I don't want the changes that Abiola make to be unmade by anyone else. In fact, this is database. I don't even want them to see. So the command to do it is chmod. Chmod, very popular and very useful command. Chmod, then like we already said, it will be 6 for the owner to be able to read and write to the file. And then what? 0 for the group to be able to have nothing to do with the file, and 0 for the world, everyone else to have nothing to do with the file. And what file are we even talking about, by the way? The file is file 4. And then to use any of these commands, I must be administrator, because so I have to use sudo to be administrator. So this is it. What am I? All right, now let's do ls minus l again. You see the difference. So let's scroll up. Bear with me. Okay, we might not be able to see both of them together, but look, watch this. So this is read write, read write. Oh, sorry, that's the wrong file. This is read write. No, this one. My mouse isn't what? Can you see file 4? I'm not able to highlight file 4. Can you see file 4 below file 3? So for file 4 below
Yes.
file 3, is read write, read write, read. Well, let's come here and see. For that same file 4 below file 3 now is read write, then nothing here. So that's the execution of the command. So everything we have here is equivalent to that 600. That's how to execute it. That's how to do it. Clear. ls minus l. Am I not able to? Okay, just bear with me, the masses. All right, let's take one more example. So what we want to do now is, first of all, I created this file as the network administrator for the group that has this new project from the new contract that we have with T-Mobile. Okay, I'll just hover around it. So I created this group for that. Okay, so for the head of the team, I want to give, in fact, I created this group for a bank. And by financial law, nobody should be able to edit the content of this database. Maybe this is where the deposits are reflected. So, but you can see it. So what I want to do is give this one as a read permission to this file. First of all, I want to give this file to the MD or to the right people, maybe to the auditors or something. The auditors are coming, they want to check the files and see, they want to audit. So I want to make this file available to them. And then of course, also, okay, I want to make this file available to one person as the MD and then make the auditors members of the group. How do I do that? So I'll have to change owner. To change owner is change ownership. Change owner. Okay, first I have to be sudo. To change owner of what? To what user do I have here? Maybe Ayo. Change owner to Ayo. Ayo is the MD. For which file? For file 1. All right. Okay, so ls minus l, what do we have? For file 1, Ayo is now the owner. All right, so let's change the group to trainees. Trainees is the group of auditors or the other people, members of Ayo's team that should also have access. So how do I change group to trainee? So group, change, change group. Change group for what? Always to do. I keep forgetting to do. Change group to what? To trainees. For which file? The same file. File 1. Okay, so let's ls minus l what do we have? For file 1, we have changed owner to Ayo, and we have now also changed the group to trainees. So what we want to do now is, we don't want them to be able to read, write. All we want to do is Ayo should be able to read. Okay, let's make it a bit normal. Ayo should be able to remain to his ability to read and write should be retained. But members of the team should only be able to read, and no outsider should have access to that file. So what should I do to achieve that? What I'll do to achieve that is to say chmod sudo chmod. So for Ayo to be able to read and write, what number? Yes, what number should I assign? Read is 4. Is 421. So 421, that's how to remember it. So this is 4, this is 2, then the 1 is not there. So 4 plus 2, that is 6. So it will be 6 there. And then for these guys to be able to only read, it will be 4, 0, 0. So that's 4. 4 plus 0 plus 0, 4. And then for the word not to even see and do anything, that's definitely 0. For which file are we doing all of this? For file 1. So that is it. If you now do ls -l, we are going to see that file 1 now has this new set of permission. All right, now you're able to answer one of those assignments that we posted about changing ownership. Any question? Is this something you're able to do by yourself? It's very useful. You'll use it in so many places. The operations. Are you sure this is something you can do by yourself? Or do you want us to do more exercise on that? "777" is the most porous kind of. In fact, it means that the permission security does not exist. That's the most. That's the meaning of 77, the highest number, and the least number is 000. It means that the file is there, but no one can do anything. Can see, can write, can execute. Absolutely no one. Not the owner, not the group, not the whole world. So you want to assign things between 4, 2, 1, 4, 3, 2, 4, just depending on what the scenario is. All right. Nobody in operations will actually tell you all of this in details. It's now up to you to say, so whatever is given to you as the objective, it's up to you to interpret it to numbers and then implement it like this. All they know is that, oh, the network administrator has done something, and that file that was global and everybody had access to is no longer available for everybody. Only selected people now have access. All right, so there are no questions, then that's how to use change ownership and chmod. Right? But the other way to do it, just in case you come across it and you say, oh, boy, I never knew it existed. The other way to do it is to set default. Okay, let's try this. You can actually do this, which is a longer one. You can do user. You can do for this file, give user, you miss user. Can you see? You can do user, give user read write permission, then command. And then you can say group, give, the plus means give. Group, give them only read permission, then command. Then group, give them, remove write permission from them. This is what this means. The minus means remove. So because you cannot put minus and plus together, so you want to say group, give them write permission. I mean, read permission. Right now they have write permission, remove that write permission. And then you can say for others, remove their, okay, let's look for something like that. You know what? Let us create something like that so that we can use this command. Let's create something like that. Who can help me with how to create a scenario where, what do we do to give okay, what I want to achieve is, let us give for a file, maybe file 2, let us chmod, let us chmod to file 2. We want to give remove read write permission for user. So remove read write permission will be 0. Then give this. Okay, let's do read write 2. Let's give 2. No, 2. And then you can see, let me move this. And then minus read write permission. Let's do 7. For which file? For file 2. All right, so what do we have now? ls minus l for file 2. And it's even giving me color, showing me warning. All right, this is what I have. And then your supervisor comes in the morning and says, what? Why would you do this? This is wrong. How can you make the whole word, I mean, this is a mistake. How can you make the whole word read, write, and execute a file when you should have given it to this guy? Now the whole world has access. Even the owner of the file cannot even edit it. What kind of administrator are you? And you quickly want to correct it. Of course, you know how to correct it, the normal 644, but you can also use this method. I just wanted to show you this method. That's why I'm passing. All right, so I can do sudo chmod for user. So sudo chmod for user. What do? Add read write. All right, then comma. Then for group, that's the meaning of G. Add read. Right now, what can group do? Group cannot even do. Oh, group can read now. Okay, that's fine. Is that the file? No, group cannot read. Group can only write. So I want to say group should be able to read, but I don't want them to be able to write. So I say add read. Then I also say comma, and I say for the same group, remove write, comma. And then for all others, which is O, I say remove the ability to read, write, and execute. All right. So this is another way to do it. What's wrong here? Chmod missing operand after. Oh, for which file? For which file are we doing all of this? For file 2, right? File 2. All right. So if we now do ls minus l, what do we now see? We see that for file 2, we have rectified that mistake. So because we said, you can see my finger, so I'm not able to. Before we said user should be able to read and write, as you can see here, we have achieved that here. Read and write for user. And then we said for group, give them read and remove the write that they had before. That's all we have achieved here. And then for others, don't give them anything, minus everything. And that's all we have. Awesome. All right, so this is another way to do it. But like I said, this is the more universal way. This number pattern is a more universal way than this one. If you can do it the number way, awesome, beautiful. And I think it's even easier. All right. So do you understand that? Now you know how to change ownership of a file, how to change group of a file, how to change permissions of a file using the number system and also using the plus stroke minus system. All right, so that's all we want to do on that network administration. Now you can create, you know what network administration is? Create user account, manage user accounts, determine who has access to what, you know, move files around, and so on and so forth. So this is basically. If there are questions or anything you'd like us to revise, we'll do them.
Yeah, okay, I have one question.
Okay.
So with this interface, like the terminal interface that we are entering all this, is there any other ways we can see them like the way we see them on the Microsoft?
In Going.
Yeah, can we see the interface like the way we see them instead of putting in all this?
Hey,
Or
you know,
we have to get there?
no, we will not get there anymore. The way you are looking for is where we are coming from.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's where we are coming from. So that's below us now. That's $15, $20, $25 kind of one. That's where we're coming from. You have been using that interface all your life. So we're trying to move you out of there.
But okay, I see. But why would they prefer this way of putting in all this information when they're simple? Is it because it consumes less resources?
Okay, I thought that was already beginning to get obvious. Yes, that is one. But the real reason is because somebody say something. The real reason is because you can do a lot more with a single command here.
Okay.
What will take you 20, 25 steps to achieve in Go environment, you can achieve it here just by one line of command.
Okay.
And that will begin to make sense even as we progress to higher courses.
I get it. Okay. Thank you.
So I get your point. I get your feelings. We are not used to this. All those simple ones that you are used to. Why can't we? No. That's exactly what we're trying to move you with. So they are part to. Even if there was a way to go and see what you are doing, it will be anti what I want you to achieve if I keep referring you to old things that you'll be passing. So just try and get them off your mind and try to get used to this hard way of doing things. It's hard. It's hard. That's why they will pay you well as a Linux person and respect you with your certification as a Red Hat certified Linux person. Yeah. And then it's hard, but you just bear the pain, bear the inconvenience of getting used to this new environment. All right, another question? You have a new user, you're able to create an account for the user. I love those Justin's assignments, those exercises. Just painting the real life scenario, telling you, okay, now you have this user, you created an account for him, his appointment has just been terminated. What should you do? Of course, you know that you need to delete the account. You have the command how to delete. You have the switches. You may not have ready-made solution to each of those questions, but you can combine 1 and 2 to answer one, combine, okay, 1 or 2 or 3. And then occasionally you find that, but it's not in the manual. What I'm looking for is not here. Then of course, it will not always be there. There's no way you can have single resource in just one book. Then you learn how to use the man. In fact, it comes out in exam, out of the Red Hat certified system and administrator exam. That occasionally you come into a situation where you need to use a command, you don't know how to use it, or you don't even have any idea what command to use. What do? You're allowed to use man to check the details of that command, so you can read it and understand, okay, this is the switch I ought to use with this command to achieve this goal. You're allowed to go on forum, you're allowed to go get materials here and there. Well, Google is the least recommended, but if Google can now lead you to a place where you can get the real thing, why not? Okay. So, excuse me. Oh, that's what I already shared with you. Are you sure you want us to move on? Anything you want us to revise? Anything I thought to revise, just to help you understand what it is. Okay. So let's go on there. These are just a matter of copying and pasting them. It's already explained here what the commands do, so no need to repeat it. But they're not so. Access control list at file directory level. See the details of a file not directly listed. Do that. To give a user called Chunrayo1 only write permission to this file. You know how to do that. To remove Chunrayo, write permission. We just did that upstairs. We just did it. So for the user, you remove. In this case, you have seen on the file that the user is Chunrayo. They say remove this and manipulate all of this to say, okay, give him this or remove that. For the file where Chunrayo is used. All right. And now that you have, okay, homework. You have enough homework, but okay, somebody was talking about, I think it was, who was asking me about Active Directory. I said I had it somewhere in the notes. So LDAP, and then a newer version of LDAP, or the open source version of LDAP is called Open LDAP. It's the directory services that they use in Linux by itself does not use directory services. But if you want to adapt Linux directory services to Linux, then LDAP is there for you. Right? There's Open LDAP and there is LDAP, which is a protocol. Open LDAP is the real thing. I mean, it's more the directory service for Linux. All right. So just run these commands, please. When you have this time to practice, just type who and then you see what it brings. Okay. Let's just run some of them together. That's not too tricky. Okay, so just run. So just run commands like who. What does this tell you? It tells you who is logged in right now. All right. Now remember that Linux is an enterprise operating system. Therefore, you can have many users logged into the same server at the same time, doing performing their different roles on the server. Enterprise server, that means it's a server that is, okay, a typical example of a Linux operating system working would be the Actually, it's not a single server, but you imagine that the whole of T-Mobile is being run from a single server, from a single computer. So all the 5,000 workers of T-Mobile, okay, maybe only about 300 of them are switch engineers. That's the telecom's name for them, but they're actually Linux administrators. You'll be working concurrently on the Linux server. They may not call their own Linux, maybe they call it Unix, or depending on who the vendor of their equipment is, you could call it Ericsson software or Huawei software or anything. But essentially, that is what Linux does. All right, so as a switch engineer in telecoms, you are a Linux person using this scripting, this command that we have learned now. On the switch, which is the Linux server. So it's not one person that will be using it. So at any point in time, you want to find out who and who is logged in right now to the system, which 300 people or 500 people, or to be modest in the corporate, in the smaller environment, which 7 people are logged in. This is the command, right? Simple exam question. How do you find out who are currently logged in and the sessions that are running right now? All right. What about the command last? What does it do? All right. The last set of sessions. Every login is a session. So right now I'm logged in from Windows environment, like Jules wanted us to go back to, and also from CLI. So that's why it's showing true. All right. So I have a Windows session and I have a CLI session. So every login is a session. That's why I'm showing true here. So the last, that will now tell me the last sessions that have happened, maybe the last set of sessions, maybe the last 50, the last 10, the last 15, and so on. All right. So basically the last happening in this system. All right. Now, you may not use them every day and not remember them. It's okay, that's fine. But at least use them once so that when you come across them again, you okay, or you just might want to find information. You don't ask people about system, just ask the system by itself. W, what does it do? Similar to who, but this one is giving us details about, okay, it's giving us additional details about what's going on. All right? ID, we already know what ID is. ID of who. If I don't specify for who, it will tell me of the person who is logged in. All right? That's ID about admin. What groups I belong to, what my user ID is, and so on and so forth. Whatever I can just summarize to you. All right? If I wanted ID of Ayo, I'll say ID Ayo as a user. Tell me that. All right? So these are the things you should, you should still practice them. The curriculum requires that you practice them. All right? So you can check what's today's date. I'm sure my own date is not correct because I didn't set it accordingly. 7, all the time, 20, no, this time, this is not my time. It's not my central time, all right? So I can set it. But today's date is correct, Saturday, January 19, all right? And then I can say uptime. I can actually say time first. And then, no, not time. The date already gave me time. Uptime will be, for how long has this computer been on? For how long has this server been on? Was up at this time? Or, and true users? It's assuming true users because I have 2 sessions, right? So now you may be wondering, what do you need these pieces of info for? Well, you may not really need them, but you should know, 1, that they are there and you can get them, and then 2, programmers would need them. And even you, occasionally, you may want to say, this system, at 12 o'clock, run this. So if you don't know the system time and if you don't know the command to pull the correct time from the system, then you may not be able to write the code that will tell the system to do certain things at certain time. All right? So some of these commands will be using them. Yes, a lot of them actually. We'll be using a lot of them. I will be using some of them. systemctl, ps. Top is a very powerful command. Top. All right, so it tells you what processes are going on right now in the system. I mean, live processes, right? All the commands about last, w, who, everything is already contained within here. That's why it's a powerful command. Instead of you going to ask the system for how long have you been up, how much of your memory is free, who is using your memory, all those other commands that will take 7, 8 different unique commands to answer. Top will give them to you all at once. Look at it. Top command, it even telling me the sessions that I had, which uptime was also telling me. So if I don't know up, if I know top, I'm able to do away with this other command that I don't use off. How many tasks are going on right now on this system? 195 of them. One running, 194 sleeping. When they are sleeping, they are called daemon. They are just sleeping there, but once the packet for which they are set tries to come in, then they can wake up, and like a firewall will just be sleeping dormantly, and some other files they'll just be sleeping there, but they can be triggered by the right activity, and then they'll come into action. Right? How many activities have been stopped? None. All right. In kilobytes, what's your memory? That. Right? And how much of that is free? Oh, it's very powerful. The process of ID that is running right now, the user that is logged in, what memory is using. Sometimes you see that, man, this thing is using so much memory, or it's using so much processor. It's wrong. I don't want, I mean, how can just one service be running like 10% of my CPU, of my memory, of my processor? Then what will be left for others to use? No, that is wrong. Then you may want to kill that process. But if you do not know how to use top to see what is going on, then you don't even know what process to kill. It tells you how much CPU usage and how much of your memory that particular service or application is doing. Right? And so on and so forth. There are so many of them. Uname is another powerful command. But like I said, uname is Linux. That's too simple. Why would I want to type uname just to find out Linux when I can type a system? I mean, I can type a host name CTL, and it will not only give me the name of the system and the operating system, it will also give me so much about, okay, static host name, say VM, it's a virtual machine, it's not real. That's the machine ID. Virtualization is that. Operating system is specifically CentOS Linux 7. And then this is the kernel version. And this is, wow, this is a lot of info about the system. All right, so if you do not know, if for some reason, because you don't use it often, you don't know your name, but you're expected to know it though. But you can always still find out what your name should have given you by some other commands. All right, am I making sense, or is it getting boring? So the commands are there. That's why I type it in red letter. Homework, practice this. System monitoring. Call them monitoring. You use them to monitor your system, like we just saw with the top now. So this system monitoring commands. We're already using some of them. We'll still use some of them, but we're not even halfway through Linux yet. We'll still be using some of them. Okay, look at the hostname CTL that I just checked, that I just used. right? Apart from using it to change your system host name, you can also use it like we just did to check the system parameter. All right, so that's all about that. There's something called batch scripting. There's something called batch scripting. We'll do a bit of batch scripting later on. But for now, I just need you to know that batch scripting is the commands that you run one by one. The command that you cd, maybe, what's this? Where are we? Okay, I see where we are. So you may want to say make ls minus. Maybe you want to say make directory, change directories to that directory, copy file from one place to another. All of those commands can be assembled. If it's something you do often, you repeat it all the time. You can just assemble the key commands, not the clear screen and all of that. You don't need to do so. The real commands that you want to execute by clearing the screen. Not the PWD, you don't need that. You are doing PWD because you just want to get where you are so that you know what to do. The real thing that you eventually do, you assemble all of those commands one by one, line by line, one line at a time, and then you put this sign on top of them. You see that sign? It's called bin bash. Bin bash usually doesn't actually know how to do this. And then no space. All right, so it's bin bash. And then you put it on top of your commands. These 2, 3, 4, 5 commands that you have assembled. So that if it's something you do every morning, instead of manually doing it, all you now do is run your bin bash and it will automatically perform the functions stipulated by the commands. When you have a file like that, that when you run, it will just automate the process represented by those functions. You say you have a script. And then because that script is running on the bin, the bash of your Linux operating system, how do I know it's a bash? Let's use the command, which bash is this one using? Which bash? Okay, it tells you, look at the bash, it tells you it's bin bash. All right, bin bash. So this one is called bash scripts. Bash script. Like I said, we'll do a couple of bash scripting, not really detailed because it's just a matter of we'll find what commands work, we take it, this command work, we take it, and then we'll just assemble them into 7 lines of command. And then we just, every time we need to run those set of commands, we just copy it and we paste, and we're going to do it. All right? So that's what scripting is. So scripting generally is using Linux commands or any other kind of command for that matter. It could be in a programming language like Python or Ansible or something. As long as you can use those commands, put them together, and every time you run the command, it helps you execute something. It's called script. It's called script. So in the job description for the Linux kind of jobs you'll be applying for, they are going to require that you know something about scripting. And with a good understanding of and practice of Linux, you can claim that you know scripting, because scripting is just 3, 4, 5, 6 commands working together with this thing on top of them. This is what makes it a script, this bin bash that is going to sit on top. Without that one, if you have 20 commands working together, they are not scripted. You have to run them one by one, enter them line by line, and I will be doing. But if you now put all those 20 commands sequentially, orderly, okay, after make directory, change to the directory. After you change to the directory, copy a file from this place into that directory. After that, that's something you repeat all the time, every time you start your system. You always want to upload a particular file to a directory before you can start to work. Then you put this sign on top of them. And then by putting that sign on top of them, you have created, they become a script. You have created a script. A script in Windows, in PowerShell, in Python? No. A script in Bash, minutes. So that's why I call Bash script or Bash script. So, no, the idea is not to take you into coding and all of this coding. But the idea is just to tell you that you can use simple commands like we've been using. Echo, else, make directory, all those little things. Let's put them together. All right, any question? That was kind of different. So Bash automation or Chmod plus X automation. Yeah, it's too complex. Why am I putting all this? Scary. It's meant to be. It's meant to be extra material, not the real thing. So if you're comfortable with practicing and you just want to explore further, say, wow, what is this? It's just additional material for reference. It's not all right, so with all of that now, you should be able to practice some of these things. All right, we may not have it, the ownership of this file will be the same as the directory it is located in. We'll be doing that. The ownership of, so create the directory, and then the ownership of this file will be the same as the directory. So these are things you can work around. The user would belong to their respective groups for each department. So you create a department called finance, for example, and then create a user IO and make IO a member of finance. That's what we are saying here. This will need the user's primary group. So the primary group should remain IO. But if you need to change primary group, you remember that command? Change group -G that we did earlier on. So the command is there, the -g to change primary group. All right, so please, I need you to interact now. I don't know why you're not talking, but please just talk, interact. Assure me you are learning, or we should just take it easy and do revision here, there. But right now we have covered the basics of Linux. What Justin will call Linux essentials. We are moving to advanced now. So we're not so strong with these basics. Advanced mind. Well, not really advanced. We are moving to intermediate level. All right, questions? It's so obvious that without practice, you cannot do Linux. It's so obvious. It's not something you can just watch. WSA asked me to upload the video yesterday. I uploaded the video as at the time I was coming to this class today, this evening. There had only been one watch. Only one person had watched that video. And I'm sure it was not even with four. And it sounded like we were going to watch the whole video and practice. So no time, but you must practice. You must practice. There's no way around it. If there was a way, I tell you, don't worry. This is a shortcut. This was what I did. I also had to pack up studying Linux twice. I packed up for 3 months once, then I packed up for another time one more time. And then before I finally got the courage to complete it long ago. So I know how it is. But you still have to practice. All right. Are you sure there are no questions? We want to move on now to the guys. What this is SITP3. Okay, let me give you another idea of I don't know if I already explained this here, but before we move on to bigger things, let me just see if I can give you another perspective to Linux so that you begin to understand. So Linux, I think did I explain Linux as an engine in this class? Maybe I already did. I find that very fascinating and a good way to. Anyway, Linux is basically the engine that runs your server, and therefore you have other parts of the engine. If I have done this before in this class, I don't remember. So what we are going to do now is, having learned the basics of Linux, how to run the small command that we just learned, we want now to begin to integrate services to Linux. We want to bring in service to Linux so that Linux will now begin to use FTP, DNS, NAT, and all those kind of other services. There is nothing that Linux cannot take. If one variant of Linux does not support it, another, that's why it is open source. It's so robust. People have developed different aspects of Linux that you can integrate. It does not come naturally with those services, but you can now integrate those services to them. Like you have your engine and you are attaching radiator to it, you are attaching your silencer to it, you are attaching your, okay, the combustion takes place here. So every other thing, the water for coolant, everything is attached to the engine. So everything that is attachable and that is useful in IT that people have already designed as services, that's what they call them. All these are called services. They can be adapted. They can be installed, configured, and made to work with Linux. So that's what we're going to learn. How do we now begin to add services to Linux so that our Linux system, our Linux machine, is now able to do this, it's now able to run as a web server, it's now able to run as a DNS server, it's now able to run as an FTP server, it's now able to do our DevOps, it's now able to run our Selenium, it's now able to run Python, even though Python is not part of Linux. It's now able to do everything else. That's the stage we are coming to. So we'll try to load 3, 4, 5 services and therefore use those ideas to generally now understand how services are integrated into Linux. And at the level of network administrator, you actually will be very busy integrating services and managing these services that you integrate. Right? So you are not just going to integrate the service and say, yeah, our Linux cannot do FTP. No, you're also going to be there to run the FTP as the FTP administrator. It's not enough to say, our Linux cannot do, no, not database. For database, you need another special. But apart from those other applications that are independent, the ones that are operating system, what's the word now? That are tied to the operating system, you have to also know them. So learning the commands is not enough. Now let's also begin to know the different services. We cannot know all of them. Like I said, we'll just learn 3, 4 of them, and then we'll now use those 3, 4 to say, yes, we know how to install service. Even if it's a service that I've not heard of before, that I've not seen before, I know the steps to follow to install any service and do it. So that's the level we want to do this. And then I would say, yes, that's actually the primary thing in operations, ability to install services and manage the services. But you needed to know all of these commands that we just went to be able to use, integrate these services, and then ultimately manage the configuration of those services. That we'll begin to see now. Yeah. We were so quiet. All right. So should we go on? Really, I'm not sure we'll go on, but I mean, is it Are we ready to go on, or is there something you need us to revise? To follow this test to start to install and configure services. What's the first service we are going to install? I had a couple of questions here for you before we start. But this is not the best place. Let me move them from here. Yeah, add them to these questions. If you have more questions, they are not entirely new. They are questions. All right. All right, let us install our first service. We'll start with the very, very simple services. Very simple. So there is this service called, what's this? Your YUM update not working. Okay, just troubleshooting. In case your YUM update is not working, what do? Yeah, that's get apt is Ubuntu command. Anyway, I'm here with you, so it doesn't work. We'll troubleshoot together. Let me move that one to. Okay. All right, for CentOS, let us install service. The service we want to install, the first service we want to install is called NTP. It means Network Time Protocol. Just a simple service. We're not interested. The interest is not in what NTP does. The interest is in learning the process of installation. All right, so we'll come here to our Linux server. And then the first thing we want to do is, once we have our Linux server, the first thing we want to do is to do YUM. Again, I'm not, these are administrative functions, so I have to be sudo YUM update. What does that mean? It's a Linux command to say, go on to the internet, download the Linux repository, and make sure that my repository is up to date on this server. All right, so say YUM update, and then I provide my password. Right? So it's downloading and updating my repository. Right? Is this okay? Do you want to continue? I say yes. What's this? Is this okay? Yes. Y for yes. All right. Sudo YUM update, updating now, downloading the library of services from the internet and then installing on my machine, so that anytime I need them, now be available locally. And then I can do installation from my local repository. However, if there's something that I need that it does not find in the local repository, it has access to internet, to always connect and then. All right, so that's the first thing I do, YUM update. Remember to add sudo if you are not working as root. I've always worked as root, so I'm trying to get used to not working as root, because in operation, you will not work as root. So the name of the service that we want to install this time is NTP, Network Time Protocol. To find out if NTP is there, we are going to use. Wow. Okay. Let's take it. This is the class of Ihe Nacho, right? Not seen her in a long while. What's going on? Good for training, but she's not been. All right, so see updating our repository. All right, that's taking some time. All right, so I'm finally ready. So I said okay, what we're interested in is a particular service called NTP. To check this repository for our service, the command is sudo repository manager, RPM. Then you say minus query or QA. All right, so that's the command to check. So if you say query or, then let's provide this query. It's scrolling off the screen. How many records do we have? Let us grep or word count actually. Word count, number of lines if you want. I'm just deliberately using this command so that you see. Oh, we have 1,350 records. No wonder. How can I capture just one record from all of that entries? All right. So I want to do, instead of scrolling through, why don't you just grep for NTP? All right. NTP date. No, that's not what I'm looking for. I'm looking for NTP. Python NTP lib. No. So it is not here. What I'm looking for is not here. So I think I can reasonably conclude that it's not been installed. It was installed, I would have seen it as NTP. It's not been installed. All right. So to install this program now, since I feel it's not been installed, the program is sudo, the command to install the program and any other program is sudo yum install. And that was the name of the program I want to install, NTP. That's the name of the service, sorry, it's called service, not program. The name of the service that I want to install. There are thousands, well, maybe hundreds of services. The one I'm installing right now is called Network Time Protocol, NTP. So that's the command. Sudo your NTP. I press enter. You want to continue? Yes. All right. So NTP is now installed. That version. NTP installed. And the installation is complete. All right. Yeah. All right. So now that we have done the installation of NTP, you want to do some confirmation. First of all, every configuration, every installation you do comes with configuration, or at least normally, there's always a configuration file for every installation. So after installation comes configuration. So for NTP, how do we know the configuration file that comes with it so that we can edit it? This is where your VI is useful. How do we know? First of all, we already know that configuration files, all configuration files are saved in a particular directory called X. Okay, that's where configuration files are saved. So let us go into Etsy and look for configuration files that bear the name or similar name to NTP. Right? So what do? We say cd where X, because that's where configuration files are saved. We've completed the installation. Installation is always sudo yum install. That's it. Nothing in installation. All right. So the configuration will say Etsy. So now we're in Etsy. Let's take a look and see if we recognize anything like NTP. Ah, that was a long list. I didn't even see everything. Again, let me just get an idea how long that list was. So word count, line. Oh, 279, not as long as the other one. That was 1,350. Okay, but in any case, I still can look through one by one. What command can I use? I can do ls ls of all files star ending with const. I must, well, generally the configuration file, like you would see, look at it here, const. What other proof do you need to have to convince you that these are configuration files? So instead of seeing all of these other files that are not necessarily the kind of configuration files I'm looking for, if I want to see, show me the only configuration file so that I can identify what I know what I'm looking for, but we're just going through this so that you know how to navigate, how to find what you are looking for. Because you definitely will come across services that you've not heard of before, so you don't even know what file configures them. So this is how to navigate. All right, so let's try this. If I do that, oh, ls, I don't like it vertically. Let's say ls minus l. I don't like it spreading like this. I always do minus l. ls minus l, oh, that one, of star dot. Of star means all. Star dot. Okay, can I see something now? NF, oh, I see something. Look, what's mine? ntp.com. Yeah, that looks like the configuration file I'm looking for. Because the service is ntp and this ntp.conf, and this is the closest one. I don't see anything ntp anymore. Or I think if some scrolls off the screen, then you could do hyperbar. I can check it page by page. You can actually do LTR so that it will arrange them according to time, but it's okay. But in any case, this is what I'm looking for. I guess this is what I'm looking for. So this is the file I want to configure. To configure this file, what do? I found it. So I do sudo vi, and then I want to get into that file, ntp.com. All right. And I come, provide my name. Oh, this is the file. I'm in VI now. Yeah, I recognize this. Yes, this is what I'm. Oh, fine. All right. So I can now begin to edit this file according to, or rather, I can now begin to modify this file according to what I want of the service. All right. But I'm not going to do anything here. I just brought you here for the first time to see that for every installation, there's always a file that you can configure. Whether you want to configure it, whether it's already okay the way it is, that's a different thing. But there's always a file that is attached to a service that you can customize to achieve the exact delivery you want from that service. In this case, this is the file. And for this file, because it's network time protocol, anywhere you see hash starting a command, starting a line, it means that that line is a comment. It's not a command. A comment means it's just for explanation purpose. It's just telling you what. I'm just trying to explain something to you. Okay, so that's a comment. That's a comment. This is a command because there's no hash in between. So this is for the system to execute. Don't be scared. You don't need to be a programmer. It's so simple. If you don't understand it, don't worry about it. I mean, don't worry about what you don't understand. Don't change anything. Worry about only what you understand. So this is a comment. It's just for explanation. I mean, time synchronization without time. So, okay. Sometimes we also read all of this to understand them so that we can explain them. And this is a command. This is not a comment. All right. This is a command. Okay. Now, if I wanted to synchronize this, my server, with New York, no, we're in America, maybe with London stock exchange time, then I will remove these servers, these 1, 2, 3, 4 servers, and I'll put the servers that, everything is digital these days, analog things hardly work. So I will put the servers that the London Stock Exchange is connected to, so that this, my system, will not be giving me time, not what is giving me now, which is EDT, but the London stock, if I was using this for stock marketing or something, according to that, right? So I'll remove this server, then I'll put the right servers. Of course, if you were doing this for a company, they will tell you what server to put and what website to get that server from, right? So that is all I need you to know. I'm not editing anything here. I just brought you here to show you what configuration files look like and to tell you that the most part of some configuration file will be comments, just telling you, explaining things to you. And sometimes the command that you want to execute is already there. All you just do to execute the command is to remove the comment and make it a command. That's all you do sometimes. That's it. Yeah, I think the Control Z would exist. Press enter to type command. Okay, just all right. Somebody's still there. Let me see. Okay, so we're still 7 in class. So do you understand how you can use VI, sudo VI, then the name of the configuration file to get into the configuration file? And when you get into the configuration file, the comments are, the hash are comments, and then the ones without hash are command. Then sometimes, like you'll see later, all you need to do to effect a command is not to type a new command, but just to remove the hash in front to convert that potential command, which is currently in comment form, to command, and so on and so forth. And if there's a command that you don't need to be active anymore, you can also put an hash in front of it to convert it to comment. All right, but in this case, for the 7th time, I'm not going to touch this. I just press escape, and then I say colon, quit without saving. So I'm not typing W now. All right, so I quit. All right. But I didn't save in this case. But normally, after you set up a configuration file following the installation of a service, you want to tell the system to restart that service so that your configuration will become active, like we did for network earlier on. In this case, we're going to say, again, this is administrative one, so it's sudo system ctl, then what? Restart. What are you restarting this time? It's not network code, this is not network service. This service is called NPT. And the service is a daemon. It's running in the background quietly. It's not something in the foreground that you just use like we're using now. So it will normally come with D. So that is it. So firewall is a daemon, like I said before. So it will be firewall D. All of these services that will be configuring that will just be like monitoring one port or monitoring one service or the other, just in the background, not in the foreground. They are daemons and they end with D. Right? Again, you can do ntpd.service, or since this is version 7 of CentOS, even if you don't do the service, it will still recognize that it's a service. All right, so if you press enter, it's going to say system ctl restart you failed to restart NPD. What did I do? Network, no, it's wrong. Network time protocol. Network time protocol, the NTPD. All right. All right. Okay, that's restarted since there was no complaint. And every time you restart, get used to also enabling. As already explained. Enable. All right. Awesome. That is done. Now you have completed your work. Because after you configured, after you change the configuration, maybe you did not this time, but usually you might, then you restart the service to tell the system to pick up the new configuration. Now your NTP is up. You have now connected this virtual machine, this system, with a universal clock defined by that URL that you enter. So your time is now, your system time is now picking. All right, nothing serious, just to show you how we deliberately pick that first. All right. So as we make progress, as we continue to install more and more services, we'll be coming to the more serious ones, like it's serious. And by the way, acronym is another name for NTP. So sometimes you'll hear acronym. It's the same thing. It's just a new name, the same function. Okay. Maybe it's a modern name or old name, or just NTP just tells you exactly what it is. Network time protocol. I prefer to use it as NTP. All right, acronym is the same thing. So you cannot have both because they are the same thing. You can only have one of them. All right. If you are still there and you are still coping, can we do one more service? Or is there something you need us to revise? Yes. Can we do the installation of one more service? All right. So what is a service in Linux? Within the Linux terms, we say service. What is it? Anybody? Yomi, Isaac? Between the two of you, what's a service? I mean, what do I mean by service? You're me, Isaac. You didn't hear me. Okay. Between Sam and Julius. If any of you can. Yeah. Sam. Who is Sam? What's your full name, Sam? You sure?
Can we say it's an application?
Okay. So basically, it's an application service, yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. So what's an application? I have to ask something just to make sure you are following.
Can we say the device that performs functions?
Device will make me think hardware.
Or software performs
application. Yeah, software. Yeah, you are trying. Yeah, these things are difficult to explain, but you are just managing to pick the words. That's good. All right, that's fine. So apparently you are copying one. Somebody has a test here for me. Okay. Okay, so what's the process involved? Of course, we've only installed only one application, so you will not know the entire process. But can you just give me an idea what is involved in installing services on Linux systems? Installing services on Linux systems. Just mention one thing, just one thing that will make me feel, oh, you have actually at least watched the installation of service before.
The exe file.
The
exe file.
exe is a directory where configuration files are saved. All right, so the S3 directory where configuration files are saved, yes, that's it's a relevant statement to installation of services, yes. All right, any other word? Hopefully used correctly this time. Any other thing? Any other term that you have come across when we talk about installation of services? What about yum, sudo yum install? What about yum update that took us? Okay, maybe you remember, but just that you don't know the terms yet. Yum update, yum install. Sudo is not part of the command, so we'll just use yum up. Of course, or you remember to do sudo because you are not the root person. Oh, by the way, let me even ask that question. When do we use sudo? Anybody can just Yaman. And where's Uju?
I think when you're installing
okay,
the software, yeah, and then when you're updating.
Okay, so when we are installing or updating, okay, yeah, those are two specific scenarios where we use sudo. But why how do I frame the question? Under what situation do we invoke that tab sudo? When do we just enter the command sudo update and then we remember, we can enter a command like yum update and then we remember, it won't work because we forgot to add sudo. And then we quickly go and add sudo. Why? What did we observe? What did we see? Under what conditions must we always enter sudo as part of the command?
I think
yeah, confused a little bit. Installing and configuration.
Yes, those are specific situations, but I'm saying generally so the answer would be when we need to perform administrative functions. And then when we need to perform root functions and we are not logged in as root. So we use that sudo to allow us to perform admin. So all those other situations you are mentioning, they are all root functions. They are functions that require us to be root to be able to perform. But because we are not root, in other words, we did not log in as root with root password, then we need to do sudo. And then, is it anyone that comes to the system to do sudo that will be able to perform root functions?
No.
No, correct. No is correct. If you now have explanation, wow, that even be beautiful. Not just anyone.
It's just the root administrator who can do that.
So the root does not need sudo. The root is already root. So the people who need sudo are people who are not root, but need to perform root functions.
Oh, okay.
To have root privileges. Like the instances that you give, those kind of functions, those kind of executions require that you are root. Nobody can just go to a system and say, system, open up. Who are you? You must be root for system to open up to you. So it is when you give the sudo that, okay, you have the authority. Oh, yes, sir. Now pay you. But who can use sudo? You say not just anybody, just because you have an account on the system, then just can use. No. You have to be. So what must I do to Abiola's account so that Abiola can start to use sudo to perform root function? I will have to add Abiola to the wheel group. That is what I need to do. That's what I have to do for Abiola to be able to use the sudo word to perform administration. And must I, as the root or as a sudoer, must first add Abiola to the wheel group. In other words, must first make Abiola a sudoer. If you told me I will need to make Abiola will need to be a sudoer first, I'll ask you how is that achieved? So you can tell me by making him a member of the wheel group. Who can do that? The root or somebody who already has sudo permission. All right, so we didn't go through all of this. I would not know that you didn't understand these things enough to explain. All right, so who can try this time? So under, not just anyone can come into a system and use sudo privileges. Only certain people. Who are these people? Who are these account owners that can use sudo? Only people who are what? Anybody can answer.
Allowed by the sudoer.
So how are they allowed?
People who are added to the wheel group.
Added.
All
What
right.
is the word? Wheel group.
Wheel. You know that we've done it many times now. Wheel. WHEEL. That group.
Okay.
When we add account owners to that group, then they become sudo. They now have the ability to use sudo and the system will run. And by the way, how do you find out if somebody is a member of sudo? By doing groups. I mean, if somebody is a member of wheel, or what groups the person belongs to. Can you see my command? Group. Groups. Yeah, sometimes you don't know, but until you try. So this tells me that A Akin is a member of A Akin group as well as a member of wheel group. So therefore, because A Akin is a member of wheel group, A Akin is a sudo. When he uses sudo to enter commands, the system will obey and do stuff. Okay. So good session. Good session we're having. So the process of installing services, or let me put it differently. There are several steps. There are a couple of steps involved in installing services. One of them is to do yum install as part of the steps. Another one is, somebody mentioned something? Yum install. Another one is to go through the etc directory and look for the right configuration file and modify it accordingly. Then what other thing? Just one more step that you observed from the one installation that we have done. Just one more thing you observe. Apart from those two. Yum install will install the service. Then you go into etc to look for the configuration file, and then you use VI to open the configuration file, do any modification. What's the next step? Can you see my Word document on the screen? Or the answer is staring at
You have to perform a system restart and system
enablement. Correct. Very correct. That is it. That is it. That is correct. So every time you
sorry, excuse me, is it at every configuration that we have to restart?
Yes.
Every okay.
Yes. Every time there is a installation, configuration should follow. And every time there is configuration, you need to restart the service. The way to restart that particular service is to do system restart, then that service. If it's a network service, it will be, if the service that you are installing is related to network or networking, you'll be restarting network service. In this case, it was related to NTPD, you'll be restarting NTP. If it's related to firewall, if what you change is you modify as a firewall file, then you'll be restarting firewall service, and so on and so forth. Okay, so let's look at more questions. This is one answer today. Now, Yomi, who is Yomi? Yomi, what's your full name?
Abayomi Olukoya.
I don't remember you. One of the military guys?
No. Abayomi Olukoya on the first day.
Huh?
I used to be Abayomi Olukoya. That was my name. That was my presenting name at first. Then I changed to Yomi. Yeah.
Okay, so what do you do? Are you an IT person?
No. I just started with you, so just studying.
Okay, so you've been studying, right?
Yeah, I've been studying.
That's good. It's true. It shows that you've been studying. Well, you've not been practicing. It's not to read theory. Have you had time to practice?
Yeah, I've been practicing and studying both at the same time.
That's fine. That's fine.
Yeah.
Well done. All right. Oh, then let me ask question. Okay, since I didn't really ask question up here, let me come back. So you can, as a network administrator, Linux system administrator, you would find yourself modifying 5 permissions, changing 5 permissions, taking ownership of 5 from one and assigning to another, changing group that users belong, and so on and so forth. All right. So you're expected to know the commands to perform. Yeah, you are just seeing them. Maybe for the first time you have not practiced them. Well, it's not really the command. I just want something to show me that you understand the importance of the command chmod. Chmod is used to assign permission to file using numbers. So a number like, specifically this number 4, 2, 2 permission. What does it mean? What's the meaning of that permission? Chmod 422 file 1, like we hear in the movies. Chmod 422 file 1, and then somebody presses something, and then the computer asks, what is that? Chmod 422, and then you mention the name of the file. What is the meaning of that statement? Chmod 422. I'll allow you to see the book since you are not familiar with these things. Chmod 422. Just interpret that as a technical person. Anybody?
Can I say the group owner is able to read and write? The users are able to read, and the outside world are able to read as well.
Well, at least you tried those 3 and knowing that there's something called read and write. Yes, you tried, but the answer is not exactly correct.
Oh wow.
422. 4 is not read and write, and 2 is not, what is it? So 422. 4 is so this. Let me just explain it so that other people did not get it. Share. Okay, so 422. So this 4 is for owner, like you said, and represent read, write, execute. That's the order. It's always in that order. And this one represents read, write, execute. For the group, read, write, execute for everyone else. So read, write, execute. If you put 2, 2, 2, and then this 2 raised power 0, 2 raised power 1, 2 raised power 2. So what means 4 here is 2 raised power 2. And 2 raised power 2 is corresponding to what? Read. So 4 is read here. So this is 2. So if we put 2 here, 2 here, 2 here, 2 raised power 0, 2 raised power 1, 2 raised power 2. What is corresponding to 2 here is 2 raised power 1. And what does that represent? 2 raised power 1 is under right. So this is right. And then true here will also mean, right. Right. And true here will also mean right. So the answer to that question is that the owner of the file is able to read, the group members are able to write, and the whole world is able to write. Does it sound like a good permission number? Doesn't sound so good, but for theory, that's what it means. How would the owner be able to only read? And then the people that are not owners are not able to write. Well, that's what it means anyway, at least in theory. Did you get it? So 422 means owner is able to only read. Then the group owner is able to, this is the user owner, the group owner, is able to write, and then others are able to write. That's what it is. Okay, so what does permission of, this is the most common kind of permission, 640. That's the most common kind of permission. What does that mean?
So that one with that, the owner is able to read, write, and execute, and then the group member are able to read, write, and then the others are not able to do anything about it.
Yes, you are correct. The others are not able to do anything at all. The group members are able to do what?
Read, write.
It's 4 read, right?
Let's see.
4.
Right. Just to read, yeah.
Just to read, yes.
Yeah.
4 is just read. So the group members are only able to read. What about the owner?
Read, write, and execute.
It's read, write, and execute. You need 7.
7. Oh, okay. Yeah. So they are able to read and write.
Read and write, correct. That is the meaning, correct. All right. All right. So are we not ready to do one more installation, or should we continue installation next week and continue to take questions? Others, the other people here, your miss have been talking. Isaac is not talking. Sam, Uju is quiet today. All right, so what do we do? Let me ask it. Maybe we should just spend the remaining time asking questions, right? Because am I even sure I'm able to cover one more service in 20 minutes? Does it give you room to ask questions? I'm not sure. Because we're going to be talking about firewall for the first time, so I need. So let's keep. In the next class, we're able to complete loading of additional services, and then we should be used to loading and configuring services. And then we are done with services, and then we'll start storage management. And then once we are done with storage management, we are done with intermediate, and then we'll now move to advanced. Yes. Advanced Linux. All right. So the time being, before we finish intermediate next week, let's see. And then of course you have all of this practice. It's not this practice is not a one-day work. It's not even a 1-month work. It's something you have with you to practice almost forever and ever. Okay. PS. Let's look at this command PS. What does it do? Let's type it and see what it does. So PS, what does it do? PS tells me, even though it's not glaring here, what processes are going on. But why is it only 2 processes? Let me see. Oh. It's showing 3 processes. All right, so what does PS say there? Yes. Well, let's do man PS. Man, maybe I should use some switches with it. Man PS. What does it say? Snapshot of the current processes. Oh, it's a snapshot of the current processes. It's not so useful. All right. So it's not unlike top that will give you the actual processes as they're happening, what amount of memory, amount of space they are using. This is only a snapshot. So I'll rather use top, but PS is a command anyway. All right. And then this is the details about PS. And then you can say PS minus E. We'll use it a lot in DevOps. PS to see every process on the system using standard. Yeah, that is more like it. PS by itself will not work. Right? So let's do PS minus EF. That is more like to see all the processes. All right, so let's quit. So PS minus EF. Yeah, that's it. All right, so PS minus EF will show us all the processes just like but a snapshot. This one will not be moving. This is a snapshot. Just captured what happened at that split second. Unlike top that will be giving us the live happiness. All right. So PS minus EF, you can. So what am I trying to say here? I'm trying to say that there are commands for all kind of functions, whatever it is that you want. If you don't know it, it's a different thing. In that case, you can go look for it, just like we look for this one now. You know, we look for it using man. All right. So whatever it is that you want to do, you will never have reason to go to run back to Windows to say, I don't know how to do this in Linux. Let me return to Windows. No. There's always a command. Just learn the command, or maybe you already know the command, but you don't know what option to use with that command to get that particular effect. All right. So then kill, again, we use kill at the advanced level. And have a process running now and say, I think I mentioned that, right? And kill the process. All right, calendar, KAL, and give you calendar for June 2021, and then we'll say that we're all right. This is not for your visual. I mean, this is the last place you want to come and check calendar, but you will still need to use, for example, you want to tell the system on the 20th by 9 a.m. shutdown. So you need calendar to be able to pick. You need calendar as your interface to tell the system what to do at a certain time. So they are more useful for system interaction and configuration than useful to you as a replacement of your mobile phone or any of the applications. All right, so the commands are here. The more of these commands you know and you know what to do, especially if you are practicing this, the MSG, I've not used that one in a long while. Okay, let's quickly look at what it does. So man, so I just bring up that command and I say man. All right, so what does it do? Print or control the kernel ring buffer. Kernel ring buffer. You can clear, you can cancel, you can cancel. Daemon is used to examine or control the kernel ring buffer. You are not there yet. You are not even learning the shell enough. The kernel is deeper than the shell. So let's stick with shell commands. The kernel is like the deep part of the operating system, whereas the shell is the outer part of the operating system. They are both part of it. But kernel is the real thing. Now, when we say there are different variants of Linux, different distros, usually the kernel is the same. The kernel of Linux is the same for all of them. It's just the shell around them that people beautify and just add some. Just work on the channel. When we say open source is readily available to everybody, open source, it is the kernel that is readily available. By the time you now build a different shell around it, you come up with a different variant. All right. And some of the commands that you are expected to practice. Practice all of this and then go get 80K job. That's the usual thing with me. I know somebody who is doing 89, even as a fresher, but was exceedingly good. Wait, okay, this is not the class of. I have another boy like that in SITP3. I'll not be surprised if that guy gets a six-figure income as a first job because he has so much time to practice. Or maybe I don't know how he makes time, but he just practices. He practices so well, he's able to answer every kind of question. Even if he does not, that kind of person, even if he does not get the exact questions at the interview, what he knows is enough for them to say, okay, you didn't get exactly what we're looking for, but with what you know, we can still use it somewhere. He has a very good understanding. So you too can become like him if you make time to practice. All right, so I think I've revised everything we've done so far, the best of my ability. So next time we can just continue from here without bothering about it. Just continue from the installation of services. So normally before now, my Linux lectures will normally stop here under disk management. Okay. Because at that time, everybody was going to cloud. But right now, I have decided that some people, for the sake of people who would like to stop at Linux and go and get job with Linux, we need to go deeper. We need to go deep enough to help them pass interviews. So that's why instead of stopping at just this management, we are going all the way to advanced Linux to study more and know more. That you are now confidently ready to tackle any job. Right? We'll be doing more than just. It extends a little bit beyond the end of the month because of the 1 week break we had. No problem. We'll just take it. All right. Comfortable. There'll be no break this time. We need all the time to continue to develop, for people who to continue to. The simplest course of all of them are AWS. That's the simplest. The
So
most difficult.
Does it mean that the Linux is difficult than the AWS?
Yes. AWS is graphics. You are back to using mouse to click.
So just as you said, when you get to the last, where you usually get to when you end there, does it mean that all that you've thought of for these 2 weeks, if you're able to do all this, you can get the work with it?
The ones I've taught you these 2 weeks, no, it's not detailed enough yet. You will need to.
I see.
Yeah, for as a
Yeah,
Linux person, if you want to work
Mhm.
as a Linux system administrator, you need to know about storages. So everything we've talked about, they are very valid and very useful and helpful. But that's only about 60%. You need to know more than that so that you're able to do more.
Oh, okay.
So by the time we do storages, now we are doing services, which is, for me, is the most important of all of them. Installation and configuration of service. This is the real thing. Or this is what you'll be doing on a daily basis. I mean, on a regular basis. And then on top of that, occasionally you run out of space. Your team members will run out of hard space. New project will require you to set up new storage. So you need to know about storage. And not everyone knows storage, so it will be a big advantage to employers to know that in this storage. And on top of that, you now need to know beyond just these things that everybody knows. You want to be able to pride yourself with the knowledge of NFS, the knowledge of configuration of Samba. These are things that people run away from ordinarily. So if you can embrace it and know it and confidently do it, then you'll stand out. There are also services, but it's not like this simple one that we just configured with only 3 lines and then we are done. Those ones, you need to enter up to 6, 7, 8 lines. If you don't know what you are doing, then you can easily get lost. But if you are consistent with those commands and you know what you are doing, know what to enter, why you are entering there, it really shows that you have a good understanding of it. It's a good exercise. All right, so at the end of Linux, if you now practice and you know everything we have learned in Linux, you can now say yes. You are right for Linux job. You are right for the Linux job. Typical Linux jobs will be like $40 per hour. The price will less only if they will normally that kind of 40, then now maybe 45, maybe 50. If you want to do more than that, then you have to do. To be honest with you, yeah, Linux is good by itself. You can get job, but virtually any IT discipline now, even if it's Linux administration, they also now still would ask you questions around cloud. Yeah, you may not be a detailed cloud person as a Linux person, but you should at least know how to work with Linux in cloud. So if one now knows how to, not just how to work with virtual machines and physical machines, but also how to spin up servers in cloud, put Linux in them, and then run all of these services we are discussing here in cloud, then of course it will shoot up your earning power. Shoot up your earning power. Where you were being taught, where you were being rated at 35, 40, you can suddenly go up to 60, 70 once you add cloud to that. But again, it's according to your power. I'm not saying this.
But can somebody move or start all the way from cloud, or you need to know the Linux before?
You need to know like without Linux, you kind of you don't know cloud. If you think you know cloud, and you anyone who thinks he knows cloud without Linux, the market will disgrace him. They will tell him he will not get job. Yes, most of us started like that. We thought,
let me go straight to.
Let me go straight, because the people advertising and the people doing the training, they will tell you just do this one, get the certification, and then, well, It's only after you have attended 7, 8, 9, 10, 15 interviews, no job. That is when nobody will tell you that all 15 of them cannot be discriminated. There must be something wrong with it. You can get job with Linux without cloud, but you cannot get job with cloud without Linux.
Linux. Oh, okay.
Cloud is too simple for you to say I can do this. No, it's too simple. Anybody can train anybody to do that. 3 weeks of training, you know cloud. But Linux, you have to practice and practice. You can't know Linux in 3 weeks. Maybe you can cover the training in 3 weeks, but you can't know it in 3 weeks. You need consistent practice in Linux. And without Linux, without a very good understanding of Linux, don't even go near DevOps. There's no need to even mention DevOps. No need. Because DevOps is continuation of Linux. It's continuation. Just like mathematics and additional maths. If you are finding algebra and all those simple linear equations difficult, you want to go and do the SDY. All right. So the people that are not talking, I hope you are hearing us that are talking. How do you do? How do is not dozing because it's night in France. Midnight. All right. So that's any more questions? Does anyone see owing? Please pay up so that you continue to be part of class next week. Otherwise, you will not be able to join class again. So that's about all for today. All right, everyone. So see you next week. Hey, yeah, today is Saturday. It'll be next week. If you have any issue, of course, we're always together on the forum. Especially with these new commands, with these new exercises. Like I said, most of them, it's not all of them, sir. Most of them you're able to do by yourself with what we have done in class. But occasionally, only occasionally, if you run into something that you try to research and you still cannot find the command, if you pop it up there, we just might be able to give you the command straight away and tell you this is the command I'm doing. We'll be there to support. All right, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your night.
Okay. Good night.
All right, then. Bye.
Bye.